Everyone knows Clash Royale has been on a downward trend in popularity in recent months, but it hasn't always been that way. In fact, Clash Royale used to be one of the most popular and exciting games on the market. At its peak, it seems like nearly every creator made a video covering it. You couldn't walk down the street without seeing multiple people looking down at their phones and playing Clash Royale. It was an amazing part of mobile gaming history, and it was reminiscent on the glory days of Clash of Clans. However, Clash Royale has had both moments of huge successes and moments of huge downfalls. The game has risen from its highest heights and fallen to the edge of the mobile gaming graveyard multiple times. Clash Royale has been on one of the craziest roller coaster rides the mobile gaming industry has ever seen, and even today, it continues to be a polarizing topic. Here's the story of Clash Royale. Clash Royale soft launched in a few select countries on January 4, 2016. Its soft launch was one of the most exciting times in the history of mobile gaming because Clash Royale relied heavily on Clash of Clans creators to advertise the game. Some of the biggest names in the Clash of Clans YouTube scene, like Chief Pat, Godson, and Gaming with Mold, were all making videos about this new and exciting game that would soon be coming to the market. Clash Royale was a seemingly perfect concept. It took a regular card game and made it a fast-paced, real-time strategy game that could be played against other online players around the world. It wasn't like Clash of Clans, where players had to wait until other players got offline to attack. It also differed from Clash of Clans in the sense that players did not have to wait for their troops to train. It was a completely new game that was unlike anything Supercell has ever released until that point. These concerns over Clash Royale didn't stop it from having one of the biggest peaks in recent gaming history. However, this peak didn't come right away. After its release, the hype around Clash Royale died down a bit until late 2016. Then in October of 2016, there was a large spike in Clash Royale's popularity. The cause for the spike wasn't exactly clear, but there were a few possible answers. Some of the major events going on around this time included the releases of the Graveyard and Inferno Dragon, massive nerfs to the Giant and Poison to end the treacherous Goizen meta, and then the release and subsequent buff of the Elite Barbarians, which made them one of the most overpowered cards of all time to this day. None of these reasons scream play Clash Royale, but it was a memorable time in the game that most people enjoyed. Many people considered the end of 2016 to the middle of 2017 the golden age of Clash Royale. It's funny to look back on now because the gameplay from this time period resembled a video game coded by a 4-year-old on a school computer. This isn't even mentioning how the average 4,000 trophy player today would most likely beat the world champion of Clash Royale from this era. Maybe the fact that people weren't as good as they are today and how Clash Royale was seen as a much more casual game is why it was so beloved. However, this period didn't last long because in the middle of 2017, interest in the game began to decline rapidly. There are multiple reasons why Clash Royale fell from glory so quickly. The first is that Supercell could never keep the game balanced. It started with the Elite Barbarians buff that made them run 500 miles per hour and basically do the damage of a P.E.K.K.A. However, it did not stop there. Right after the Elite Barbarians were nerfed, the Night Witch was released. The Night Witch was insane because it spawned 76 bats per second and 4 death bats. It was so broken that games were basically decided by who could get a Night Witch behind a golem first, because it was nearly impossible to stop it. It took Supercell over half a year to nerf the Night Witch, and by that time, people were so sick of losing to that busted card that they quit the game. It was also around this time that one of the most hated cards in Clash Royale history first set foot in the arena. Enter the Mega Knight. To this day, the Mega Knight gets a ton of hate because it's so easy to use. Low-level players quickly overlevel it and turn the mid-ladder portion of Clash Royale into a grueling gauntlet of constant Mega Knight spam. And this problem has persisted to the present day. All of these balancing issues are 100% the Clash Royale team's fault, but there were also some outside circumstances that were out of their control. Supercell had been working on another huge game behind the scenes. This new game had equally massive potential, and as soon as Supercell revealed it to the community, millions of players found love at first sight. This game was called Brawl Stars. Brawl Stars soft launched in July of 2017 and released worldwide in January of 2018. Many players found themselves drooling over this new game. It looked outstanding because there were numerous different brawlers that you could control and a huge variety of different games that created thousands of ways to play the game. Unfortunately, one of the biggest issues that Clash Royale had up until this point was how monotonous the game can be with limited game modes. So this launch led millions of players to quit Clash Royale and play Brawl Stars. The release of Brawl Stars created a new low for Clash Royale that would linger for years. Despite the Brawl Stars release, there were some good things happening in Clash Royale during this time period. In April 2018, Supercell released the original Clan Wars. Clan Wars had been highly requested by the community for years at this point, and Supercell finally delivered. Since its release, Clash Royale had an issue of being unable to create strong communities like there were in Clash of Clans. Outside of clan chests, there was no reason to even be in a clan in Clash Royale. However, with the highly anticipated addition of Clan Wars, one would expect a big influx of players back to Clash Royale, right? Wrong. No one came back and the game seemed completely dead. Despite a declining player base, Supercell continued to make massive improvements to Clash Royale throughout the next year. Global tournaments were introduced in December of 2018, allowing the game to gauge who the best players in the world were without forcing them to play 24/7 on ladder. Another big update came in April of 2019 that introduced the Trophy Road and Star Points. Some people came back for this update to check it out, but the hype quickly died down when Pass Royale was introduced in July of the same year. Pass Royale was essentially a copy of the Clash of Clans Gold Pass that had already had tons of success, but Clash Royale's Pass just wasn't as good. Even then, Pass Royale ended up becoming a very important part of Clash Royale in the future, primarily because it leveled the playing field a bit between the average player and the top spenders that spent thousands of dollars on the game. However, at the time, the addition of Pass Royale sparked outrage in the community. Yet, after a streak of good updates from Supercell, there would be almost nothing new in the game for over a year besides terrible buffs to the Witch and Executioner. Throughout this time, Supercell continuously hinted at a massive update coming in the future. As the months dragged on, this update was teased as the update to save Clash Royale and bring it back to its former glory. Once again, community hype skyrocketed to new heights, and players anxiously awaited. This update is now known as Clan Wars 2. Clan Wars 2 update in August of 2020 was supposed to revolutionize the old Clan Wars system. The Clash Royale dev team took several extra months to perfect this update, and well, it sucked. Now regarded as one of the biggest disappointments in Clash Royale history, Clan Wars 2 had the community furious and heavily contributed to Clash Royale falling to its lowest lows it has ever seen. At this point, it looked like all hope was lost and Supercell had actually killed their game. The future of Clash Royale looked bleak until March of 2021 when Supercell gave everyone some hope and introduced magic items. At the time, magic items were just what Clash Royale needed. For years, players complained about having underleveled cards, and Supercell finally provided a solution. The books they introduced allowed you to automatically get the number of cards needed for an upgrade, and the magic coin instantly paid for an upgrade no matter the cost. These magic items further closed the gap between high and low level players, making the overall experience more enjoyable for a lot of players in the player base. This update also made Pass Royale worth the money to buy since magic items were now included in it. This update was so successful that it single-handedly started to generate serious interest in Clash Royale, which had seemed impossible beforehand. Going into the second half of 2021, the game just needed one great update and it was back in business. Surprisingly, Supercell delivered. Well, kind of. Level 16 and champions were introduced and players were ecstatic. Supercell was even generous enough to give everyone an opportunity to max out all of their cards before the update during the upcoming Slash Royale event. Everyone was happy until, well, someone pulled out a calculator. Players did the math on the difference in card upgrade costs during Slash Royale and after the update and realized that the deals during Slash Royale were actually worse than what the prices would be after the update. Despite the massive controversy, the player base was back and Clash Royale was doing well. The only issue is that from this point forward, no one ever trusted Supercell again. Although the game was having a revival, the mistrust in Supercell started to make the Clash Royale community insanely pessimistic about everything new Supercell introduced. As time passed, the mistrust slowly won out and the game's popularity began to decline again. There were no decent-sized updates planned until the fall of 2022, and by that time, the popularity of Clash Royale had plummeted to near all-time lows again. However, as summer drew to a close, rumblings of a massive update that was going to blow the Champions update out of the water began to surface. It seemed as if Clash Royale would return to its golden age, but this speculation couldn't have been further from the truth. When the update came out, it was a mess. Like a really bad mess. For starters, the addition of Path of Legends as the new competitive mode didn't make much sense to players because no one was really asking for it. On top of that, the new cards, the Phoenix and the Monk, were some of the most botched card releases of all time. The Phoenix was so broken that it made the original Night Witch seem like a completely balanced card, and it flooded every inch of the game. Everyone returned to Clash Royale just to find Phoenixes constantly being mirrored and cloned game after game, making the experience nearly unplayable. Not only had Supercell built up the hype and failed yet again, but they refused to admit their mistake. After the update, the Phoenix and the Monk remained unchecked for months, terrorizing the ladder and ruining the competitive nature of Clash Royale. After such a horrendous mistake, one would think that Supercell would do the obvious thing and fix it all in the spring of 2023 update. Surely they would add some cool changes to make up for the months of nearly unplayable gameplay, right? Absolutely not. Supercell released a spring of 2023 update titled The Update for Losers, that rivaled both the previous update and the Clan Wars 2 update as one of the worst updates of all time. They severely punished casual 2v2 players, which is a large portion of the player base, nerfed Pass Royale to a point where it was laughable, and decided to give the Archer Queen to players at 2,000 trophies. Perhaps no update at all would have been better for the game, and Clash Royale now sits in a position eerily similar to the post-Clan Wars 2 update. In fact, a new report showed that Clash Royale is officially bringing in less revenue than Heyday, another Supercell game that is drastically older and considerably less popular. At this point, the future of Clash Royale looks uncertain at best. On one end, the game itself has unlimited potential, so much so that the only thing that could stand in its way are the creators of the game themselves. Looking back at its history, Clash Royale has repeatedly fallen victim to the vicious cycle of Supercell repeatedly overpromising and underdelivering. And unless they break this cycle, it's difficult to imagine Clash Royale ever reaching such an incredible peak again. Competition from other mobile games will increase as time goes on, and only time will tell if Supercell steps up to the plate and does the right thing.